I've always been interested. I have a degree in journalism. And here this Hillsider paper was there. And I thought, oh, this is cool. And so that's how I first saw the Hillsider. So it was started before me. There's people that didn't live in the Hillside that helped a lot. Mm-hmm. And Wendy Grethen did proofing for me. And then not only that, I'd get the stories, either I'd write them or someone would turn them in and we'd go through them. Wendy would go through them. Then I'd lay the whole paper out in like tabloid side, print them out, and take them. Literally take them to people like Sandy Robinson. There was a woman named Lori Richards. There's other people I would take them to, and I'd say they would proofread it and they'd mark them up. And then also I'd make a PDF, and there was other people that would help proofread. I'd send them a PDF and then they'd say what they'd see. So there was a lot of buy-in on this. And I think one of the reasons I was able to get so much help with this is because it was a nonprofit. So a lot of people would submit stories, or I could ask people to submit stories and they would do it. Because they knew that I really cared about the Hillsider, and this was a nonprofit. And it was for the greater good. I got hired in May, and I used to be able to tell you the exact date I got hired. It was May something, 2006. And so my first issue came out June, July, August. Okay. Now, Claudie Washington, he was very active in the Hillside. But anyway, he really wanted me to interview this man. And because this man had a mechanics business, and I really didn't get it. I was like, I don't know what the big deal is about this guy has a mechanics business. Well, he is an African-American man from Mississippi. And he owned his own business. And, and then later I called my friend who grew up in St. Louis, and I said, I don't know what the big deal is. He wanted a story about this man. I wrote it, but I'm still not getting it. And she goes, oh, Naomi, if he's a black man that grew up in Mississippi and he's this age, that is a huge deal that he has his own business. So okay, that was what the story was, but it was kind of like, yeah. For the last 4 decades, Herman Easterling, a resident of Central Hillside neighborhood, has been the man to see if you need a new or used car. So, and that was the kind of stories I went out of my way to do. If there was a minority person, somehow marginalized person, I wanted to, and they were doing something cool, I wanted to write a story about them. So when I first moved here, my husband and I would get up together in the morning, and we had a little Jack Russell Terrier, and her name was Wishbone. And I would walk Terry to the bus stop, but it was just across the street from our place. And then that little Jack Russell and I, we'd walk all around the Hillside, and I'd see all kinds of really cool things. And I'd think, oh, I could do a story about that. So I got to the point where I'd say to people, if they said they lived in the Hillside, I'd say, well, what's your address? And they would tell me, and I go, oh, you live in that blue house next door to the yellow house. And they'd be like, yeah, I do. How do you know? So one time my mom came to visit us, and we rented a room by the Edgewater, the water park, just to have fun. And the housekeeping lady, somehow she was talking to my mom, and my mom was telling her, oh, my daughter's the editor of the Hillsider. And she lives in and that woman was just like, oh, I wouldn't live in the Hillside. It's just like,
wow.
And one time the Duluth News Tribune, I can't remember what happened. Somebody got killed in the Hillside or something. So they called me up to ask me, how did I feel about the Hillsider, or not the Hillsider, the Hillside. And I said something like, well, I heard that someone broke into a house in the Congdon neighborhood. Aren't you scared to live in the Congdon neighborhood? And they quoted me saying that. Now, this place isn't here anymore, but there's an old mansion on East Superior Street by, it's one of the churches. It's not Pilgrim. St. Paul's Episcopal. There's an old mansion, and they used to, They used to have like a place for people that had like mental disabilities or mental illnesses, but they had a little cafe in there. So I did a story about the cafe in there, and I was sorry to see that go, but
It was called The Palace.
the Palace Dinner feeds tummy along with spirit and soul. And this one is the Drum Major for Peace Award presented to the Hillsider on January 8th, 2010 for dedicated contributions to the Duluth, Minnesota community in the area of peace and justice. Presented by the Duluth branch of the NAACP and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. So this was fun to get. I mean, I feel so proud of this one. I was thinking, well, if I look back on my life, this is going to be one of the awards that I am the most proud of. And then for the longest time, I put a little award-winning newspaper right up on here.